Let's talk about tariffs, a word that sounds dull, maybe even intimidating, but is actually one of the most important forces shaping the world around us. You might hear the word and think it's just some technical jargon for economists or politicians, but tariffs have a direct impact on your daily life, whether you realize it or not. Every time you walk into a store and see the price tag on a TV, a smartphone, or even a bunch of bananas, you're seeing the effects of tariffs in action. These taxes on imported goods don't just influence what you pay, they ripple through the entire global economy, affecting jobs, businesses, and even the choices you have as a consumer. Politicians toss the word around like it's a fancy coffee order, but tariffs are a big deal. They're not just buzzwords for campaign speeches or news soundbites, they're powerful tools that can change the course of entire industries. When leaders argue about tariffs, they're really talking about who gets to win and who has to lose in the global marketplace. Tariffs are a tool in international trade, able to build walls between countries or, sometimes, cause self-inflicted wounds. They can protect local industries from foreign competition, but they can also make everyday goods more expensive for everyone. Sometimes they're used as bargaining chips in high-stakes negotiations, and other times, they're a last resort in a trade dispute. So stick with me as we dive into the world of import taxes and global logistics, because this stuff affects you more than you think. The journey of a product from a factory overseas to your local store shelf is a complex dance, and tariffs are like the music that sets the tempo. They can speed things up, slow them down, or even bring the whole process to a halt. When leaders talk about trade wars, they're tinkering with the plumbing of our modern world. Imagine the global economy as a vast network of pipes, valves, and pumps, all working together to keep goods flowing smoothly from one country to another. Tariffs are like turning a valve, sometimes to increase pressure, sometimes to block the flow entirely, and as anyone with a burst pipe knows, a little tinkering can cause a flood. One small change in tariff policy can set off a chain reaction, raising prices, disrupting supply chains, and even sparking retaliation from other countries. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple fix can turn into a major crisis. So, let's wade into the basement of global economics, where the pipes, valves, and sometimes leaks of international trade are hidden from view. Trust me, it'll be worth it. By the end, you'll see that tariffs aren't just a big, scary word. They're a key part of the story behind every product you buy, every job you work, and every headline you read about the world economy. A tariff is simply a tax on imported goods. Governments use tariffs to make foreign products more expensive, hoping you'll buy local instead. It's like giving your home team a head start in a football match. Tariffs can also raise government revenue or act as political weapons. But when one country imposes tariffs, the other often retaliates, leading to a trade war. The result? Prices rise, businesses struggle, and international tensions flare. Tariffs are less a precise tool and more a sledgehammer, often causing more harm than good. Now let's see how tariffs hit a giant like Amazon. Amazon sells everything, much of it made overseas. If a government slaps a 25% tariff on electronics from China, Amazon's costs soar. They can either eat the cost, hurting profits, or pass it to you, making gadgets pricier. Smaller sellers on Amazon get squeezed even harder, sometimes out of business. Higher prices mean fewer sales, which can lead to job cuts and less demand for delivery and warehouse workers. Tariffs inject chaos into Amazon's carefully tuned supply chain, making long-term planning nearly impossible. For a company built on efficiency, tariffs are a nightmare. To see why tariffs are so disruptive, you need to understand supply chains. A supply chain is the journey from raw material to your doorstep, often spanning continents. Take a smartphone. Its parts are designed, built, and assembled in different countries before reaching you. Companies have spent decades perfecting these global networks for speed and cost. The system relies on everything arriving just in time. When it works, it's a global ballet delivering affordable goods. But its complexity is also its weakness. One disruption, like a new tariff, can throw everything into chaos. The result: delays, higher costs, and uncertainty for everyone involved. Throw a tariff into the supply chain, and the whole system stumbles. A tariff on one component, say memory chips, can spike costs and force companies to scramble for new suppliers. Finding alternatives takes time and money, and production can grind to a halt. Businesses lose predictability, making it hard to plan or invest. The ripple effects hit everyone: shipping companies, factories, drivers, and more. A single trade policy can destabilize an entire industry. It's like building a house while someone keeps changing the size of the bricks. Tariffs don't just raise prices, they disrupt the whole ecosystem. Let's look at a real example: washing machines. In 2018, the US imposed tariffs on imported washers to protect American manufacturers. Prices for all washing machines and even dryers jumped about 12%. Consumers paid more, even for products not directly targeted. Yes, some US jobs were created, but at a staggering cost, over $800,000 per job. Tariffs aimed to help one industry, but ended up costing consumers and the economy dearly. It's a classic case of unintended consequences. Tariffs are a blunt tool, often hurting the very people they're meant to help. There's a persistent rumor floating around, one that says Amazon is packing up and leaving the United States because of rising tariffs and trade tensions. But let's set the record straight. Amazon isn't going anywhere. The idea that the world's largest online retailer would simply abandon its biggest market is more fiction than fact. In reality, Amazon is so deeply woven into the fabric of American commerce that leaving would be almost unthinkable. Just look at the scale of Amazon's operations. Across the country, there are hundreds of massive fulfillment centers, each buzzing with activity day and night. These aren't just warehouses. They're logistical powerhouses employing hundreds of thousands of people and moving millions of packages every single day. Amazon's presence is felt in nearly every state, from small towns to major cities, and its infrastructure is a backbone of the modern American economy. Beyond the warehouses, Amazon's reach extends into technology and data. Amazon Web Services, or AWS, powers everything from streaming services to government websites. The company's cloud business is so essential that a sudden exit would disrupt not just shopping, but the very backbone of the internet. Amazon's investments in robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence have made its operations more efficient and resilient, allowing it to weather economic storms and policy changes. So what does Amazon do when faced with new tariffs or shifting trade policies? It doesn't run, it adapts. The company is constantly rethinking its supply chain, seeking out new suppliers, and investing in local manufacturing to reduce its exposure to global disruptions. By building relationships with domestic producers and diversifying its sourcing, Amazon can keep its shelves stocked and its delivery promises intact. But adaptation isn't just about logistics. Amazon is also a powerful force in the halls of government. The company spends millions on lobbying efforts, working to shape policies that affect everything from shipping costs to labor laws. By engaging with lawmakers and regulators, Amazon ensures its interests are represented and its business model remains viable, even as the rules of the game change. Inside the company, teams of analysts and strategists are constantly searching for ways to cut costs and improve efficiency. Whether it's optimizing delivery routes, investing in new technology, or renegotiating contracts with suppliers, Amazon is relentless in its pursuit of competitiveness. Every decision is driven by the goal of keeping prices low and service fast, no matter what challenges arise. The real story isn't about a dramatic exit or a sudden retreat. It's about relentless adaptation and innovation. Amazon's response to adversity is to double down on efficiency, embrace new technologies, and find creative solutions to complex problems. This is how the company has survived and thrived through economic downturns, regulatory changes, and global crises. Of course, these changes don't happen in a vacuum. When costs go up, whether from tariffs, higher wages, or new regulations, some of those expenses inevitably get passed on to customers. You might notice slightly higher prices at checkout, or changes in shipping options. But for most shoppers, the convenience and speed of Amazon's service still outweigh the extra costs. In the end, Amazon isn't packing its bags, it's fighting, adjusting, and pushing forward because that's what industry giants do. The company's story is one of constant evolution, and as long as there are customers to serve, Amazon will keep finding ways to deliver. So, who actually pays for tariffs? It's a question that often gets lost in political debates and news headlines. When you hear about new tariffs being imposed, it might sound like a foreign country or overseas companies are footing the bill. But the reality is much more complicated and much closer to home than most people realize. Despite political claims, it's not the foreign country, it's you. When tariffs are put in place, the cost doesn't magically disappear or get absorbed by companies overseas. Instead, it gets passed along the supply chain, eventually landing squarely on the shoulders of everyday people like you and me. Every time you shop for imported goods, you're likely paying a little extra, even if you don't notice it right away. Tariffs are collected at the border by your own government, paid by importers. These importers are usually American businesses, retailers, wholesalers, and manufacturers, who bring in products from abroad. They're the ones who write the check for the tariff, but they don't just absorb that cost out of goodwill. Instead, they adjust their prices to make up for the extra expense. Those importers pass the cost down the line, raising prices for businesses and, ultimately, consumers. Retailers mark up their goods, manufacturers increase their prices, and service providers adjust their fees. The ripple effect spreads throughout the economy, touching nearly every household and business, whether you buy imported goods directly or not. Studies show the burden falls almost entirely on the domestic population. Economists have analyzed the impact of tariffs and found that in most cases, foreign exporters don't lower their prices to offset the tariffs. Instead, American consumers and businesses end up shouldering almost all of the added costs, leading to higher prices and tighter budgets for families across the country. Tariffs are a hidden sales tax, making everyday goods more expensive. Whether it's groceries, electronics, clothing, or cars, the extra cost sneaks into your shopping cart. You might not see a line item labeled tariff on your receipt, but it's there, quietly inflating the price of the things you buy every day. The intention may be to punish foreign competitors, but the pain lands at home. Higher prices can mean less money for other essentials, fewer jobs as businesses struggle with rising costs, and even closures of local shops that can't keep up. The effects ripple through communities, affecting workers, families, and small business owners alike. It's like punching yourself and hoping your neighbor feels it. The logic behind tariffs often sounds simple, but the real-world consequences are far more complex and often self-defeating. Instead of hurting foreign producers, tariffs can end up causing more harm to the very people they're supposed to help. In the end, tariffs are a costly strategy for the people they're supposed to protect. While they may be intended as a tool to strengthen domestic industries, the evidence shows that the financial burden falls hardest on American consumers, workers, and businesses. So next time you hear about tariffs in the news, remember, the real cost is paid right here at home. So why should you care about tariffs and trade wars? Because they affect your wallet, your job, and the economy's health. Being informed helps you see through political spin and understand who really pays. Tariffs hit small businesses, farmers, and families, raising costs for everyone. Our world is more connected than ever, and trade disruptions ripple everywhere. Paying attention isn't just for economists, it's a civic duty. Understanding these forces lets you demand smarter policies from leaders, because in the end, someone always pays, and it's worth knowing who.